If you're watching this episode right now, you're a part of history. The first episode of the Pogcast, hosted by me, Johnny Pogs. Get it? Pogcast, podcast. I'm hilarious. The NFL season just concluded, so this is not an opportune time to start my podcast, but we got the NFL playoffs. I'm very excited about those. So you know what? We're going to do a little test run, see how the podcast goes. So on today's episode, we're going to break down the 6 wildcard games this NFL weekend. We have games starting on Saturday all the way to Monday. 6 beautiful football games. And usually the wildcard games, I find there's a lot of blowouts, some mismatches. I don't think it's going to be the case this week. I think we're going to get 5, maybe 4 or 5 really good games, close games. So let's start at the very top. We got Texans, Chargers. The AFC South always gets slotted into this Saturday afternoon spot on the first wildcard day. 8 years in a row. Oh, the boring AFC South always gets this because they get the lowest ratings on this, so they don't want to put any of their good matchups here. And I do have to say, this one looks like it's probably going to be the most boring game of the weekend. I think it's going to be competitive, but I also think it's going to be 16-13. The Texans are supposed to be a really fun team this year. CJ Stroud's sophomore season. They traded for Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL. Nico Collins is playing, but Tank Dell tore his ACL. But Nico Collins is playing. But they're going to double cover Nico Collins. So who's CJ Stroud going to throw to? Dalton Schultz. They hand the ball off to Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon started the season off hot. He had, 5 games in a row with 100-plus yards. Then he got hurt. He came back. We didn't hear much more about him. I'm sure he still played well. But this Texans team, good thing they were in the AFC South because I don't think they were that strong this year. They'll always have a good defense. They're well coached. DeMeco Ryans. He's a really good coach, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So they'll always keep the games close. They'll keep them competitive. They always have a chance. And they're playing a Chargers team that's kind of built the same way. Really good defense, well coached by Jim Harbaugh. And I see this being a 16-13 game. I lean Chargers in this game. Chargers have Ladd McConkey. Justin Herbert has been slinging the ball this year. He only has, I think, 3 or 4 interceptions this year. He's been taking care of the ball, which is important in playoff scenarios. And he's got gorgeous hair. Justin Herbert is a beautiful man. Justin Herbert's got that flow. That makes me a little bit more confident in a quarterback. If you got that flow, you got that 2007 Tom Brady undefeated season flow, you're on my list. You're high on my list. I think they run the ball. They get their 3 or 4 yards every play, grind you down. Play action passes. You got Ladd McConkey. You got Quentin Johnson. You got Joshua Palmer out there. Not the most well-known wide receiver group, but he's made it work this year. Give me the Chargers in this game. I like them. 16-13. Next, we got Battle of the AFC North, Ravens versus Steelers. It's going to be a good game. No, it's not. Ravens are going to blow them out. You got Lamar Jackson back there. Lamar Jackson at an all-time high in confidence. Okay? The Ravens are going to do whatever they want against the Steelers defense. Everyone thinks, oh, it's the Steelers, their defense, they're always tough. This is going to be a close game. No, this isn't the same Steelers defense your grandpa grew up on, your dad grew up on, even last year's Steelers defense. They're not that good. They're a little overrated. It's only because they're the Steelers. Lamar's been running a lot lately, amping up for this playoff run. He's going to run even more in the playoffs. Doesn't have to worry about getting injured. Lamar Jackson is going to look like Superman in this game. The Wildcard Weekend, this is just a warm-up for Lamar. Lamar is going to throw 250 yards, have 75 rushing yards, throw 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry's going to have a good game. There's not much to talk about this. Russ has not cooked in the last 5 weeks. They've lost 5 straight games to end the season. Mike Tomlin, I don't know, they had the division. All they had to do is win a couple more games, and they had the division. They were in the driver's seat, and they let the Ravens sneak, crawl, claw their way back up there. Now Ravens have the home field. They have the 3rd seed, and they're going to kill the Steelers. It's not going to be a close game. We go from one MVP candidate in Lamar Jackson to another MVP candidate in Josh Allen, and this game is being played in Buffalo against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are coming off a 38-0 absolute blowout against the Kansas City Chiefs where they sealed their ticket to the playoffs and sent home the Cincinnati Bengals. My biggest question in this game is, how's Bo Nix going to do with that crazy Bills Mafia screaming, yelling, chanting all game? It's going to be tough. It's going to be hard at the line of scrimmage. This crowd is loud. I've been to Bills home games. They are insanely loud. I could see this game being a little closer than people think. The spread's 8.5. Denver has a really good defense. The Bills' defense can be a little suspect sometimes. So 8.5 points is a lot. I expect the Bills to win this game at home. I expect Josh Allen to do Josh Allen things. I wouldn't be surprised if Bo Nix rises to the occasion in the second half after he kind of figures out how to maneuver in this very hostile environment. Bo Nix is a good quarterback. He had a good rookie season. I think it'll be a fun game. I think the Bills win. I think the Bills are going to have a lot of big moments where the crowd's just going to be going absolutely nuts. Give me the Bills to win this game. Now we move to the Eagles versus Packers. This game should be in the nighttime, under the lights, but it's not because NBC got the Lions-Vikings game, so Fox needed a good game, and they gave them the Eagles versus Packers. This should be the night game, but it's not. We get to watch it at 4:30. The easy thing to do would just say Eagles are going to win. But as I break down the stats, these teams are actually quite even. On defense and offense, they have very similar rankings. Packers have a really good run defense. I'm sure they're going to want to slow down Saquon and make Jalen Hurts, if he's available, I'm sure he'll be available, to throw the ball. That's why I think Devonta Smith is in for a big game. He had 7 catches in their first matchup week 1. A.J. Brown had a really big game week 1 against the Packers in Brazil. Now, these teams have obviously gone through changes and adjustments since their week 1 matchup, so it's hard to go look at that matchup and kind of, bring it over to this game and do the comparison. But it's still a starting point. And Christian Watson's out for the season now. Tore his ACL last game. So you're going to have to look for, your Jalen Reeds, your Romeo Doubs, whatever, however you say his name. Josh Jacobs has been an absolute legend this year. They're going to have to run the ball. Against this Philadelphia defense, not an easy task. Spread's 4.5. And a lot of people that I talk to say, the Eagles should be favored by way more. Should they, though? Do we trust Nick Sirianni in a big playoff game? Matt LaFleur's a really good coach. Packers are well coached. They know what they need to do this weekend. I think, in my heart of hearts, the Eagles win this game at home. I think the Eagles are a very good squad. I think the 4.5 point spread is fair. I could see the Eagles winning 24-20. I could see the Eagles winning 27-20. So, it's a decent spread. I like the Eagles, though, either way. I think the Packers scare them a little bit, but I don't think the Packers have been firing all cylinders the last few weeks. If this was mid-season, I might be leaning Packers to cover the spread, maybe even win the game, but they haven't looked that great. They're getting a little banged up last couple weeks, so I'm going to take the Eagles to win this playoff game. All right, I'm really super excited to bet on this game. We got Commanders versus Buccaneers. This is a fun game to end off the Sunday Night Football on NBC. We got the likely Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels, who's been electric this year, versus Baker Mayfield, who's one of my favorite quarterbacks personally. I've always loved Baker. I loved watching him at Oklahoma. He's found his home in Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay has a home game here as they won the division. Washington comes into this game a little bit more healthy than the Buccaneers. Buccaneers have a couple defensive players that are going to be out, and Chris Godwin's been out for most of the season. Mike Evans has been balling out. He got his 11th straight 1,000-yard season, which ties Jerry Rice. But the problem with having Chris Godwin out is that Mike Evans is going to be getting a lot of attention from that defense. So then what does Baker do when he's getting blitzed? We've seen Baker get sacked a lot the last few weeks. He holds onto the ball really long. Not against Dan Quinn's defense. You can't do that. You got to get the ball out quick. But if Mike Evans is covered, you got Jalen McMillan over there. He's been having a really good season. I don't know if you can win with just having Jalen McMillan and getting Mike Evans the ball occasionally. It's going to be a tough game for the Buccaneers offense. You look over at the Washington Commanders team. They're very balanced on offense. They got Jaden Daniels. He's a running quarterback, so you got to watch that. Brian Robinson Jr., really good running back. You have Scary Terry on the outside. That's Zacchaeus kid that's been playing the last few games. I've watched a couple of Commanders games. That kid's really good. He's fast. He's quick. He's a little gadget player. You can run him out of the backfield, quick little slants. Love Zacchaeus. And you got Zach Ertz at tight end. They got a pretty well-balanced offense, and their defense is well coached, and they have some good pieces on there. Currently, as it sits, the Buccaneers are favored by 3. I'm taking the Commanders. I think Commanders win this football game. And you get them at +3. It's a good bet. And finally, on Monday night, we get the Vikings and the Rams. These two teams played earlier this season, and the Rams beat the Vikings. So keep that in mind. The Vikings have lost 3 games this year. 2 to Detroit and 1 to the Rams. This is technically a Rams home playoff game because they won the division, but we know in LA that they don't have a traditional home field advantage. There's going to be a lot of Vikings fans there. Probably going to be 50-50 in the stadium. That might be generous. The Vikings might take over that thing. Getting some Skol chants. Skol. Skol. Matt Stafford got a well-needed week off. So did Cooper Kupp. As they locked up the division, they didn't play last week. Jimmy Garoppolo was slinging the rock for the Rams last weekend. Matt Stafford had a little bye week, so did Cooper Kupp. They're going to be refreshed, rejuvenated, and ready to make a statement in this playoff game. Because I think, and this might be a hot take, the Rams are going to pull off this win. Now, don't get me wrong, Sam Darnold and the Vikings have been playing really well, but the Lions kind of exposed a little weakness in the Vikings last weekend, where if you put heavy pressure on Sam Darnold, he tends to throw the ball pretty high and miss his receivers. I don't think the Vikings are any slouch by any means. I mean, look, they won 14 games. They're a good football team. They're well coached. I love their coach. Kevin O'Connell's a beauty. But the Rams, also well coached. Sean McVay's won a Super Bowl. He always takes these subpar teams that no one's expecting out of these Rams teams to make the playoffs. Won the division over the 49ers. Some people like the Cardinals this year. The Seahawks are a tough team. They won the division over those three teams. Okay? So, I think the Rams, with Stafford, with Cooper Kupp, with Puka Nacua, with Kyron Williams in the backfield, they have enough weapons to match what the Vikings can do offensively. And as we saw in their first meeting, the Rams can get pressure on Sam Darnold, get sacked on key third downs. The Rams' offensive line has been protecting Stafford well this season once they got healthy. They have a healthy offensive line right now. I think Stafford's going to have enough time to find Puka, to find Cooper Kupp, and win a tight game in Los Angeles and punch their ticket to the second round of the playoffs. NFL bracket time. This is the Pogs bracket. I'm going to go through who I think is going to win each round until we get to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to give you my Super Bowl prediction. I've already broken down the first round of Wildcard games. I obviously took the Chargers, the Bills, and the Ravens to win on the AFC side, and I have the Eagles, Commanders, and the Rams winning on the NFC side. So that fills out the first round bracket, the Wildcard Weekend. Now we get into some fun matchups here. We got the number 1 seed, Kansas City Chiefs, facing off against the LA Chargers. Screw the Chiefs. Screw their 2 weeks off. We've seen how that's gone for other teams taking those weeks off. They've already only squeaked by the Chargers this season in the 2 games they played. If they didn't doink that field goal off and it bounce in and get lucky with that horseshoe up their ass, they wouldn't even be the number 1 seed. Anyway, and the Bengals would be in the playoffs. Give me the Chargers. Give me the Chargers to beat the Chiefs. It's a hot take right off the top. Chargers are going to the conference finals. We got Bills versus Ravens. The fun pick. Oh, I take Buffalo. Josh Allen gets to that conference finals with a chance he can sniff that Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl in Buffalo Bills history. Oh, but Lamar and Derrick Henry are in his way. Give me the Ravens to upset the Bills. Oh, the Chiefs are out, but the Bills didn't make it. Oh, no. Yeah, another squandered opportunity for Sean McDermott and those Buffalo Bills. Ravens versus Chargers in the AFC Conference Championship. Move over to the NFC. So we have Lions versus Washington Commanders, which is a very fun game. I think the Washington Commanders put a little bit of a scare in them, but Detroit at home in the Dome, crowd's going wild. Jared Goff gets them through this game. Gibbs has a big game on the ground. Give me the Lions to move on to the Conference Championship. They're not getting squashed that easily. And then we got Rams versus Eagles. I'm not going to go into too much depth here. I think the Eagles win this game. I think they win that first game, they squeak by the Packers, and then they make a statement against the Rams, who I think are decent, but not on the same level as Philadelphia. Philadelphia is going to be locked in. Saquon Barkley is going to be tasting that conference championship, and he'll get there, okay? Now we got our conference championship set. We got the Chargers versus the Ravens, and we got the Lions versus the Eagles. The Lions versus the Eagles, we kind of expect that to happen. That's like the betting favorite for conference championship Sunday. But Chargers-Baltimore, a little different. We got the brothers coaching against each other again. A little rematch from earlier this year where the Ravens ended up winning. And I see that happening again. Give me the Ravens to get to the Super Bowl with Lamar. Long time coming. 2-time MVP, maybe 3-time. I think Josh Allen wins it this year, but 2-time MVP finally getting to the Super Bowl with a chance to get a Super Bowl MVP. Who will they be playing? We got the Lions versus the Eagles, a battle of the juggernauts of the NFC, the number 1 and number 2 seed. Who's going to move on to the Super Bowl? Who does Johnny Pogs have moving on to the Super Bowl? And in a close game, in a game where a lot of people are actually picking the Eagles, I'm seeing the future. A lot of people are like, nah, the Eagles are going to win this game. I think they're going to run over all this Lions defense. They're a little injured. They're going to be a little bit healthier when we get to the conference championship. Maybe Aiden Hutchinson is healthy enough to come back for this. I know he said he might come back for the Super Bowl. Maybe he's a healthy 2 weeks earlier. Lions win. Lions get to their first Super Bowl. The Eagles are done. Close game, heartbreaker. Nick Sirianni finds a way to screw this up. Dan Campbell tries to find a way to screw it up going forward on 4th down, but it doesn't hurt him this time, and they get to the Super Bowl. They battle those demons of the Dan Campbell 4th downs against the 49ers, and they make it to that Super Bowl. So now we got Lions-Baltimore in the Super Bowl. Everyone's cheering for the Lions. Everyone wants the Lions to win this game. Sorry, folks. It's not happening this year. Lamar Jackson, solidifies his legacy and raises the Lombardi Trophy in what will be a memorable Super Bowl for a lot of reasons. Not because Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show. I'm going to be in my bedroom listening to Drake while that's on. But it's going to be memorable because we're going to have two really great teams battling it out. A fresh matchup, Lions-Baltimore. And honestly, if the Lions win this, that'd be a fantastic outcome too. But I have the Ravens to win the Super Bowl in my bracket on what is a pretty elite bracket because it has Kansas City losing and not three-peating. I think we can all get on board with that. It has a great matchup between Lamar and Josh Allen. Jane Daniels gets to the second round. That's fun. I love my bracket. What do you guys think? You tell me in the comments what you think about this bracket. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the very first episode of the Pogcast, we have a guest. He's known on Instagram as Real Crime Daily with over 40,000 followers. I know him as Solomon, who is in my DMs sending me NFL parlays. I saw they started hitting. He gets close on a lot of them, and he's going to come talk some NFL with us. So help me in introducing Solomon RCD to the program. Hey, buddy, what's going on? Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk some football with you. We got what people are calling the most exciting 5 days in football history. We have the college football playoffs Thursday and Friday, and then 3 great days of NFL playoffs. It's going to be fantastic. And I brought you on here because I wanted to talk some football with you, and I wanted to get your feedback on the Wildcard Weekend. Which game are you most interested in watching, and why?
So first, I'd definitely like to see Ravens versus Steelers. I think Lamar Jackson is just the most entertaining player to watch in football. Also interested in seeing Broncos versus Bills, just because of their performance last week. Even though Mahomes was out, it's still like a really convincing victory.
Absolutely. And that was a big game for them, and they stepped up. They can take that momentum into the playoffs against the Bills. It's going to be tough because the Bills home crowd is absolutely insane. Bills Mafia is loud. I've been to some Bills home games. So it'll be interesting to see Bo Nix and see how he deals with that. And yeah, I agree with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ravens game. Lamar Jackson is electric. So good picks there. I think the fans agree with you. They will want to watch those games. I'm most excited for the Commanders versus the Buccaneers. See how Jaden Daniels can do. Do you like Jaden Daniels? Do you think he's a good player? He's fun to watch.
Definitely, yeah. And I think Commanders are so underrated. Honestly, I think Commanders are going to destroy Bucs.
Yeah, honestly, I'm on the same page with you there. And it's going to pay out nice too because they're underdogs. Maybe because they have a rookie quarterback, but Baker's going to be under a lot of pressure that game. He's going to get sacked a lot. He holds onto the ball way too long. So I agree with you there. I think the Commanders win this game, and it could be quite convincingly.
Yeah, I'm tempted to take them -6.5.
Oh, wow. A little alternate spread. I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm digging that. Before you came on, I actually did a breakdown of my NFL playoff bracket, and I showed who I was picking all the way up to the Super Bowl. But before I tell you who I picked as my Super Bowl matchup, I'm interested to hear who you have as the finalists for the Super Bowl this year.
So I'm going to go with Eagles and Bills.
Okay, I like that. That's a good matchup. Do you have any reasons why you think the Bills and the Eagles would be a good matchup, why they're going to make it there?
I think Eagles will get there because, for a few reasons, they have a strong roster. They have probably one of the most complete rosters in the league.
I agree with that, yeah.
Jalen Hurts, the way he's playing, he continues to play at MVP caliber level. I could see them. I have a hard time seeing them lose a lot of these. As far as Bills, just Josh Allen, the season he's having, the guy's unstoppable. I mean, he's such a dynamic quarterback.
Yeah, it really does seem like it's a Bills season. It seems like they're going to get over that hump. They're going to get if they have to play the Chiefs, it seems like they have the tools to beat the Chiefs. They already beat them this year. I think the Ravens and the Bills will want to get revenge from losing earlier this season. I definitely think the Bills are a good pick. However, my Super Bowl matchup, a little different than yours. I have the Lions beating the Eagles in the NFC Championship and getting to the Super Bowl. And then I have the Ravens beating the Chargers to get to the Super Bowl. And I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl over the Lions. What do you think?
Wow, Ravens over Lions? Oh, see, that's tough. Lions are so hot.
I know. But I thought, hey, you know what? If Lamar Jackson gets to a Super Bowl and they can put it on his back, hand the ball to Derrick Henry, and then just do some magic, I think the 2-time MVP will add a Super Bowl MVP to his trophy case.
I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah, it's cool that we had 2 different matchups there. Both equally have a chance of happening, and it'll be exciting no matter what happens. I think it's going to be a fun playoff.
For sure.
Now, before I let you go, I couldn't let you go without getting one of your parlays. You've been sending me some parlays over the last couple months, and I've been keeping an eye on them. I've tailed a bunch of them, and we've won some. We've been really close on some. So give us your 4-leg parlay for the NFL Wildcard Weekend.
For sure. Okay. So first, I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson's over on passing yards. Specifically because Steelers are, I think, ranked 25 in passing defense. I could definitely see this being a game where Lamar throws the ball a bit more. And also, I think his line is set a bit low at 215.5. I guess that reflects, his recent games. Then next, I'm going to take Commanders. Because, like I said before, I
love that.
Yeah, they're such an underrated team. They're so young, but I think a lot of the teams they beat have really shown what they can do. Ravens, I feel like that's a gimme. Steelers have been dropping the ball so much. I don't see them beating Ravens.
And your last leg?
Last leg, I'm gonna take Chargers over Texans.
All right, we're on that. Honestly, I love all those picks. I'm 100% tailing this. This is a great parlay. I think when I checked it, paid plus 777.
Yeah, lucky sevens.
Lucky sevens. All right, let's roll the dice on some sevens, baby.
Do it.
All right, I appreciate your time, Solomon. Great job. Thanks for coming on and talking some football with us.
For sure, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take care.
See ya.
All right, we're coming to the end of our program here. Thanks for watching the podcast. But of course, we can't leave without doing the Pogs 5. I give you my 5 best picks for this weekend. Coming in at number 5, we have Devonta Smith over his receiving yards. Devonta Smith had a really good game week 1 against the Packers. I think the Packers' strategy is going to be to slow down Saquon. They're going to have to throw more. I think A.J. Brown's going to get a lot of coverage. Devonta Smith, he's going to be open quite a bit. Give me Devonta Smith over his receiving yards. Coming in at number 4, we got Puka Nacua over 88.5 receiving yards. The type of defense the Vikings run plays right into the hands of Stafford and Nacua. Play pitch and catch all game. And they played the Vikings earlier this year. Puka went off in the first half. He probably hit this total. He had a crazy game that game. Give me Puka over his yards for number 4. Number 3, give me Bo Nix 25 plus rushing yards. Bo uses his legs a lot, especially the last few weeks. Against the Bills in this hostile environment, he's not going to be able to hear everything. Maybe there'll be some miscommunications. He's going to get a little flustered. I could see him taking off for a bunch of chunk of runs. Chunk. Bo Nix is going to get 25 plus rushing yards. That's number 3. And then at number 2, we got the Lad McConkey over his receiving yards. He catches 6-7 balls a game. Getting over this yards milestone will be no problem for Lad McConkey, who I think could go for 100 this weekend. And finally, Pogs' number 1 bet of the weekend. The Washington Commanders plus 3. I think they win this game. Either way, it's going to be close. Give me the points. I'll take the points with a little wiggle room. Love the Washington Commanders this weekend to get it done against the Buccaneers. And that is it for this first episode of the podcast. Thanks for watching, and always remember, that's the slogan, always remember. Always remember, always remember.